Hi everyone, my name is Danielle Bender. I'm the Cinematic Arts Manager at Oolite Arts, and I want to welcome you to our second info session for our public service announcement open call, Save the Bay. I'm going to go a little bit over the application process for submitting, and I'll also be joined by two special guests. They're going to be sharing some resources and answering questions as well. And speaking of questions, I want to remind you all that you can put any of your questions in the Q&A feature, not the chat. And we'll be answering them at the end of the presentation. Last fall, we launched our first ever PSA Open Call Masks Up, where we asked filmmakers and artists to submit ideas for a cinematic work that encouraged Miami-Dade residents to wear their masks. And we received a lot of proposals and were able to fund 5 winners and 5 honorable mentions that created PSAs. These PSAs went on to play all over Miami-Dade County and online. And the goal of these PSAs is to get funding to local filmmakers and, importantly, for artists to have agency in community topics that affect their day-to-day. One constant in many of our lives, of course, is South Florida landscapes, and that is comprised mainly of Biscayne Bay. So last summer, as many of you know, the bay was plagued with algae blooms, fish kills, and constant pollution and suffering plant and marine life. Daniela Levine Cava was sworn into office in November, and Miami-Dade County then appointed its first ever Chief Bay Officer, who we have with us today, Arella Bagay. Arella should be joining shortly. Arella, are you there? Here we are. Hi.
How are you?
Wonderful, and you? Thanks for joining us for our second info session. I'm so pleased to have you here, and I'd love for you to tell our audience a little bit about what your office is doing and what your position is.
So basically, the Chief Bay Officer, which I believe is the only one that we know of, it's a relatively new position, and it was created by the Biscayne Bay Task Force, which was assembled a few years ago to really address some of the, issues we were seeing with the Bay's ecosystem. We started realizing that we were losing a significant amount of seagrass in the northern part of the Biscayne Bay watershed. And that led us to kind of assemble and try to figure out, we assembled experts of every academia, scientists, engineers, everybody to the table, different governments, and we came up with a set of recommendations that were then delivered to the mayor and the county commission start implementing. And one of those recommendations was to create a position that serves pretty much as an advisor to the mayor and the commission, as well as an advocate and a coordinator, because there's so many jurisdictions. We have a national park, we have a aquatic preserve that's managed by our state government. We have a number of coastal cities that we work with. So kind of coordinate and work with everyone and stakeholders as well. Now, as far as the causes of why the bay is pretty much in such an unhealthy state, and last summer, we had a horrific fish kill that was pretty much widely reported, and that was a result of a number of. We had a lot of rain come through last summer, and we have this system of canals that pretty much flush everything that's on the surface out to the bay. We also have stormwater systems that also keep us streets dry and our properties dry. So it's a question of like keeping us dry, but at the same time, everything that's happening on land ends up in the bay pretty much. And then we have aging infrastructure, old pipes and septic systems that are contributing to groundwater contamination. And so, yeah, it's kind of like everything leading to this point. And but hopefully with this plan, we are on our way to recovery. One of our biggest challenges, as I haven't listed enough of them, is public education. So, we can fix all of these infrastructure issues, but we can't really fix people and their behaviors. And what we're seeing is we're blessed with such a diverse community. People come from all over the world and make Miami their home, and they visit from all over the world. And different cultures deal with waste and trash differently. And so it's really hard for us to make that connection that our bay is really our backyard, and therefore we should treasure it, not trash it.
Yeah, of course.
And we're hoping that, and we're so pleased that you selected, the bay as a feature, because we really need a lot of help educating the public. And I think film and visuals really tell a bigger story, and really can get the message across better than government can. So thank you so much, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, of course. And this is one of the things that I care dearly about, and I know so many South Floridians do care. But then you become stumped because it's such a big problem. So, what are some of the ways citizens can make a difference?
Well, I mean, believe it or not, I mean, just lower your plastic consumption. We all know that, I mean, 80% of the ocean plastic that ends up in the ocean is coming from land.
Yeah.
There's a small percentage of boaters that are bad actors, but on the water, but pretty much everything is coming from land. So it's like, lower your plastic consumption. There's really, in Miami-Dade, I don't know about other places, but there's really no need to buy bottled water.
Yeah.
Our tap water is perfectly fine, and that's really one of the pet peeves I have. Another is, believe it or not, dog poop enters our stormwater system. When I said everything flushes when it rains here during the rainy season into the storm drains, poop and plastic and everything goes through those storm drains into outfalls, and they end up in the bay.
Yeah.
Again, and just people need to stop littering. It's just that simple. Um, the pandemic, we've seen like masks showing up everywhere. I mean, it's just horrible. And it's manatee season right now, and it all affects the wildlife, everything that ends up in the bay. But really, we really need to start changing that behavior, making people connect with our water resources and how important they are, not just for us, our quality of life, but also our economy.
Yeah, of course. And speaking of our economy, so for someone that just sees the bay as like a park or a natural resource, how would you explain how it affects the economy?
Well, it's simple. For example, the fish kill. If we continue to have recurrences of that affects the economy, our tourism. We're a tourism-based economy. I know right now cruising hasn't restarted yet, but imagine you get off a boat, and all you do is you're starting to see dead fish all over the place, or it smells horrible, or the bay starts turning into, instead of this beautiful blue, you start seeing it muddy, and that's what starts happening in areas where we lose seagrass, because the seagrass is the kind of the fountain of life for all of our wildlife, for our fish. I mean, even the fishing industry, for example, it affects that too.
Yeah.
You know, we have so many boaters out that come and recreate and have a great time here. You think you're going to want to do that in a polluted bay? No, not so much.
Well, and so, taking all of the things you're saying that people can do to make an impact, we're asking filmmakers to make PSAs about the Bay. It could be about advocating for the Bay, your special relationship with the Bay. What do you, as Chief Bay Officer, hope that viewers of a PSA would learn from a PSA about Biscayne Bay?
To learn about it, it's valuable. It's so valuable. It's as valuable as your home. People invest a lot. This is our investment. And so we're going to have to invest a significant amount of, I'm talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, to repair all of the infrastructure that I talked about. And
Yeah.
so, we also need the public to do their part. And so, and then there are little things you can do to just be conscious about the environment. Leave no trace when you go out and enjoy the bay, in our parks that abut the bay. Again, it's those little things, but make it your own. It's ours, and we should treasure it. And also, for our visitors too. Again, we have tourists that come, and some are great and enjoy it, but some not so much.
Yeah.
So it's like, I like to say, enjoy, don't destroy.
And you've already come up with a couple of catchphrases in the,
Yeah,
short amount of time we're talking. So enjoy, don't destroy. What happens on land ends up in water. Just things to get
yeah,
the wheels turning. And I know I'm putting this in the chat really quick. You had sent me a link of resources that people can access. That's something that you did with the Biscayne Task Force.
yeah.
That shows kind of the state of the bay, how people can follow along with what the plans are, and just learning more about the state of the bay, because really this kind of information shouldn't be intimidating. We want people to get involved and excited about protecting this resource. So
Right. And believe it or not, individual actions really make a difference.
mhm. And so with that, I just wanted to close with sharing that these PSAs aren't something that are just going to exist in an arts bubble. We had talked about the fact that they have the ability to screen at Miami International Airport, Port of Miami, on TV. So just wanted to put that out there. And any parting words for our viewers before you sign off?
No, I just want to thank all of you. Get super creative. Be very Miami. We're we're a very cool place on the planet, and so I just and really the Bay, like I said, is our most treasured asset. It really is.
Well, thanks so much for spending a lot of your time with us. I know you're super busy, but thank you for that. And someone is saying, I have a quick question before you pop off.
Sure, no problem.
Mariana is asking, would you say the greatest danger to the Bay comes from individuals littering? What about the impact from large corporations?
Yes, I think everything affects the Bay, right? Everything we do from large scale to individual action. So it's really, yeah, it's a big lift, but I think that the public needs to understand that this is something that we all have to put something in order to participate. And honestly, corporations, we're seeing that not addressing corporations and really regulating them properly. We're seeing what's happening in Tampa Bay, and that's tragic. And so yes, we are you know we are regulating the way we're supposed to, and our Department of Environmental Protection in Miami-Dade County is one of the stringent ones. So
Yeah.
we
And
got
just following up what we said earlier, obviously we know that there are institutional not institutional, but widespread problems that are going to be things your office is working on. And part of what we hope with the PSA project what it can do is getting individuals more informed and knowing that we aren't the solution to fixing everything, but we can help support working towards that goal together.
correct. Right. So we're all in this together, the way I say it, because like I said before, there's so many different jurisdictions. So we have state, federal, and local governments all working together finally, and really making the Bay and highlighting the Bay as a resource that must be invested. So
Yeah.
it's a good time. It's a good time. The spotlight is on us.
Yeah, exactly. And with all the news popping up, of course, it's horrible news, but it's just a reminder of what can happen. And
Right.
I wanna redirect everyone just to the link that I sent in the chat. Again, that was sent through the Biscayne Task Force. It's recommendations for the Bay, that you want to not just rehabilitate it, but get it to a point where it's thriving. So if anyone wants to read up more on that, please feel free to check out the link in the chat. And with that, I'd like to say thanks for coming, Arella, and looking forward to talking to you soon and seeing all the awesome things your office is doing.
Thank you, and thank everyone for participating. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the final products.
Awesome. Thanks so
Bye,
much.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye. Okay, there we go. So let's go to our next slide. I'm gonna talk a little bit more about the actual call. Arella's obviously impressed upon us how important this subject is and how it's important to make immediate action. So I'll just pop right into what is Save the Bay and what we're hoping to do. So it's a quick mini contest. We want you to send us a brief explanation of what kind of PSA you would shoot to specifically encourage stewardship of Biscayne Bay. I have a different connection to Biscayne Bay than you might. We want to know what your take is. And we've received generous funding from the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson III Family Foundation. We're going to award 5 filmmakers $2,500 each to create a short PSA about caring for Miami-Dade's most vulnerable and valuable asset, Biscayne Bay. We have a lot of support already, obviously, from Arella's office as well as Miami-Dade County. Arella's going to help us at the end of this contest to judge the final selections of films, and we'll be working closely with Miami-Dade County in order to get the PSAs out into the world. The contest is very local, and as such, it's going to be open to creatives in Miami-Dade County specifically. This is for filmmakers and visual artists. So if you have a great idea for a public service announcement and the ability to get it made in a cinematic format, we definitely want to see you submit a proposal. Your PSA has to be a video. It can be animated, it can be claymation, documentary, narrative, whatever will get your point across. And the 5 finalists will be selected in early May and will have about a month to complete their PSA. So as an applicant, you'll also have access to the Lynn and Lewis Wolfson II Florida Moving Image Archives at Miami-Dade College, where you can access any of their archival information and use that in your PSA. I'm gonna go to our next slide. So if you're wondering about the application process, it's already available online, pretty straightforward. You just have to answer 3 questions, submit your CV, and you're gonna have to submit it, or you could submit an optional work sample. First question is, tell us the summary of your idea in 100 words or less. What will your PSA feel like in 150 words or less? And who is your ideal audience? And that's gonna be, again, 100 words or less. So just 3 questions, your CV, and a optional work sample, and you've submitted. So you're probably wondering what the jurors are looking for. Our last PSA contest on mask wearing had PSAs that were submitted that featured dog poop, dancing skeletons, green flamingos, and our winning PSA even had a male stripper. So obviously we're not looking for anything run of the mill. We want you to have your unique perspective as an artist. So whatever route you choose to go, your PSA should make viewers stop and think about how valuable the Bay is. And that's going to be completely your take on it. If you don't have access to fancy equipment, that's totally okay too. It's open to anyone with a great idea and the ability to make it a reality. Some people can have submitted ideas that they wanted to film on a phone. If you have a camera, that's fine too. Whatever you're able to do to execute your proposal. And make sure that whatever you submit, the proposal should be 30 to 60 seconds long. So you want to propose something that packs a punch, but's also realistic. You know, it's a short period of time to get a message across. So I'm going to go over our timeline and jury really quick. All applications must be submitted by April 12th. You have until 6 p.m. So that's a little less than a week to propose your idea. And every idea that we receive, we're going to send to a jury of filmmakers and civic leaders. They're going to review them. Just a side note, no one on the Oolite staff reviews the application. It is an independent jury of filmmakers and civic leaders. We'll be announcing the winners early in May. And if you were selected as one of those winners, you'll have about a month to shoot your PSA. About a month after that point, the PSA will screen at an outdoor, socially distanced event. We're also, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, going to be working with Miami-Dade County to have the PSAs play out in the world. So hopefully at Miami International Airport, your film might screen at Port of Miami, on cable TV. So lots of opportunities for this PSA to be seen by tourists and residents alike. And I have a lot more information on our website. So I'm going to really quick just plug that in our chat. I've said quite a bit, so I'm going to take a second to stop here and see if anyone has any questions. While I wait for any to roll in, I'm going to cover a couple that have been submitted before, just to reemphasize that to y'all. We've been asked before if you can collaborate with another filmmaker. I just want to let you know you cannot submit as a collective. Only one person can submit the idea. You're welcome to collaborate, but only one person is awarded this PSA funding to make the PSA. And so the winner would only be announced under your name, the person that submits. I've also received the question about how long the PSA has to be. Again, it has to be between 30 to 60 seconds. If it goes over by a second or two, not the end of the world, but you do want to try and keep it under a minute. It cannot be too long. These are short, packing a punch, hopefully drawing people in and getting them excited about saving Biscayne Bay. I received a question about what support is provided during the 1 month making process by Oolite. You received the funding from us. This is something that you should be able to do independently. So you submit a request, we send you part of the funding up front, you make your PSA, and then we send you the rest on the tail end. Beyond that, you would be working on it independently. I have another question that I received about what facts do I have to include about the Bay? Arella was just on and shared a lot of them. They're in the chat in that document that I shared from the task force. But we don't want to be prescriptive. We want you to submit a PSA that you want to make. That can include information on why the Bay is special to you, why you want people to respect the Bay. It can be things people can do to keep the Bay clean, like Arella mentioned, not bothering wildlife, cleaning up after yourself, picking up your pet's waste because it ends up in the Bay. Another thing that she had mentioned in a previous session is if you live by the water, not fertilizing your yard during the summer months because the runoff goes into the water and can cause the seagrass to die off. There's infinite amount of ways that you can or angles that you can go for with this contest, but those are just some of the suggestions. So feel free to utilize any of those ones. Is it better to choose a specific target audience or try to appeal to all audiences? You know, that's one of the questions that we do have is who is your audience for the PSA? So we want you to think about who you'd be making the PSA for. If you're going audience first, you can propose a PSA that's supposed to go to that specific audience. If you have a more general PSA, that's okay too. Again, I don't want to be prescriptive and tell you one or the other. You are also more than welcome to submit more than one PSA idea. I wouldn't submit too many. We do want to see your best ideas. But you don't need to go audience driven. You can go idea driven. It's up to you. You don't need to target a specific audience. Does it have to be about steps to do better? You don't need to make a PSA about things people can do to make the Bay better. You can talk about your relationship or why it's an important resource. That's okay too. I have a couple of questions rolling in. I'm going to give another second because I just answered one of them. Maybe while we wait, I'm going to invite our other panelist, Carla de Jesus Jerez, to join us. Carla is one of the winners from our Masks Up PSA contest. And maybe Carla can share a little bit more about their experience. Hi, Carla.
Hi, how are you, Danielle?
Good, thank you. So glad to have you on. You were obviously selected as one of the 5 winning PSA proposals for Masks Up, and you went on to make a PSA called Mask Magic. I'm gonna plug the links so that our audience can watch them. So give me just a second, but I guess while we have you here, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about what your experience was making the PSA. So maybe share a little bit about first your background as a filmmaker or artist.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I actually started in stand-up comedy and was doing like live storytelling and just started making videos because I couldn't keep up with all the live performances and really fell in love with that process. So I came back down to Miami in 2018, started working in the video industry, and alongside that, started developing my own digital art practice.
That's awesome. And how did you decide to submit something for the PSA contest? What drew you into applying?
Yeah, I don't remember that I immediately thought I was going to apply. I just like was aware of it and was like, I don't know if I have an idea. And then I kind of thought about a character that I had in another video I had made and was like, oh, well, I wonder what she would be like in a PSA context. And yeah, it was just kind of like struck me all at once. And so I think I wrote my application probably in a couple days.
Awesome. And wait, were you one of our applicants that submitted like the week of? Do you remember?
Probably.
So,
Yeah, I probably the week it was due.
yeah, so like walk me through from your perspective, because I know what it's like as an admin, but like as an artist, what was the application process like once you had an idea?
Yeah, I tend to have the same grant writing process for all grants. I mean, I think this one in particular is a little bit shorter, which is nice than your average grant. But I tend to like just really rough draft it. I call it like 0.5 drafting, just like write whatever comes to your head and then like spend a couple hours over the next couple of days like refining it. I think that like having that space is really helpful for like the writing process.
Yeah. And you said the application was fairly simple to get through. What did you think when you were submitting? What did you think we were looking for, if anything?
Yeah, I don't want to invalidate anyone's experience also real quick. If you're finding it hard, it's totally valid. Like writer's block is it's very real. Sorry, you said what was my experience with
Filling out the
like
application, and what did you think? Well, you already covered that, but like, what did you think we were specifically looking for, if anything at all?
Okay.
Beyond masculine.
Yeah. Right. I thought, and I think you've debunked this, that you wanted something with like a broad appeal. And so I felt like I had an idea for that. Like I wasn't trying to force anything to fit that mold. Usually I don't have ideas with broad appeal. So I was like, oh, okay, this is a place to try that out. So I think I thought you wanted something that was for families.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
But again, you kind of said that's not the case.
And I thought yours was really appropriate now that you say it, with like a broad audience. Anyone can enjoy that. Somebody that's into visual arts could like that. It would be interesting if I was a little kid to watch it. So, that makes sense. And I also, going back to what you said a minute ago about not invalidating how tough it is tough to be creative during a pandemic, especially. But, one of the things that we wanted to do with this application is make it as straightforward as possible so that people could really just think from their heart and share, their ideas from just the bare bones of what they are. So people really shouldn't feel nervous about this application. We really want you to get creative, and we totally understand that it's difficult to create, but hopefully we can provide opportunities to make that possible more often, for filmmakers and artists. So now that we're talking a little bit about the behind the scenes getting ready to apply, what did you actually apply with? Maybe for anybody that hasn't seen your PSA, what did you submit?
So I actually brought my little character. I submitted a stop motion idea, and this character, she goes through different Miami locations that were made with collage, and she like spins in a magical little circle and transforms like non-mask wearing people into mask wearers. I think what's really great about the application process too, and Danielle, you like touched on this, but it really is more about the idea than a lot of grants will have you kind of, and reasonably so, prove like your history with something. So I think I got to really focus on the idea.
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear that. And why do you think you won?
I think I'm not the kind of video or filmmaker who's like really into the gear side of things, to be honest. And I think I really leaned into like more of my collaging and my interest in stop motion animation. And I think that creates a unique aesthetic that like at least puts me in a category of one. So maybe if that's helpful for anybody, just like lean into what is very you.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And, you know, that's something I touched upon earlier is that these PSAs, you know, the subject matter is unique to, it's broad, but it's unique to each of us, what our experience is, what our connection with the Bay is. So we really do want people to lean into their creative talent, what they specifically bring to the table as a filmmaker or artist. And for you, I thought your PSA really shined in the style of what you do as an artist. And it came out amazing.
Thanks.
It came out very uniquely you. No one else could have made that one. So what do you think if someone saw that PSA, other than the obvious, we hope that it would make them wear a mask, what do you hope that they would take away from your PSA?
I think I really wanted to make a narrative that that you didn't have to use language to understand. I think that was really important to me, was just like that it could, you know, there's a lot of different cultures in Miami. There's a lot of different demographics. So I think that I hope that just the story, first of all, comes through, and that people who live here who see it, you know, it's a primary audience, can connect with the different scenes in Miami and go like, oh, like that's Little Havana, like that kind of thing.
That's so thoughtful. I didn't realize that until now, but yeah, there was no words. It was just really recognizing spaces and having a common knowledge or language rather.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Well, what advice would you give? Because we have some filmmakers and artists that are signed on tonight, and obviously this will be made available after the fact as well. But from your unique perspective, what advice would you give, you know, filmmakers on making a PSA that have never made one before?
Yeah, I mean, I had never made a PSA before. My advice, it's pretty specific, so if it doesn't work for you, you know, forget it. But I guess I would encourage people to look at their past work. I think it's very easy to, at least for me, be over what I've done once I've done it and not want to look at it again. You know, you spend a million hours making it, but I would invite you to like spend a couple of hours at least with your work and see what still kind of sparks your imagination, and try to imagine that angle like from a PSA perspective, because I think that that's really something you're going to be excited about, and that'll carry you through.
Yeah, totally agree. And when we were thinking about this subject matter specifically outside of the PSA that you participated in, I guess I'm just curious if you have a specific connection to Biscayne Bay, and if you feel open to sharing, you're welcome to.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in Broward County, but I did come down to Biscayne Bay a lot growing up, and especially throughout college. Like, you know, that's where we would come on our breaks with friends. And yeah, I mean, I live in Miami Beach now, so I live near the water, and I don't know, I just think it's really special to be able to live near the ocean, to live near the bay. Yeah, it's a real shame to see what's been happening.
Yeah. Well, I'm at the end of our session. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'll keep you on for just a minute or two. Before you sign off, I guess I'm wondering what you are up to next.
I am right now. Yeah. Right now, I'm working on my Ellys Project. It's a femme comedic sketch show and digital platform So yeah, I'm working on that, writing the scripts, working on the website. And if anyone wants to check out the pilot, you can see it on my website, which is teetertats.com.
Okay, so I'm gonna just
it's kind of, maybe I should spell it out.
Okay, I'm putting it in the chat. teetertats.com is where you can find Carla. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I appreciate it. And obviously you're a great resource to our community. If anyone wants to check out your PSA, it's in the chat as well. I put a link to all of the winners and honorable mentions. With that, I am going to let you go for the night, and I guess I will talk to you soon. Look forward to seeing Teeter Tots and what comes from that Ellys Project. So thanks for joining us, Carla.
Thank you, Danielle. Bye.
I'll see you. I'm going to stay on for another minute or two to see if there's any other last minute questions. But if you do think of any questions that you might have beyond what was covered today, or if you have anything that you're a little shy to ask here, please don't hesitate to email me. My email address is dbender at ulightarts.org. I'll put that in the chat so y'all have access to it. And I'd also like to share that we are going to be doing our last talks of the season. Locust Projects and Ellys Arts will be in conversation with Rujeko Hockley, who's the assistant curator at the Whitney Museum of American Art. And you can register for that. I'm about to pull up that link and put it in our chat. You can register for that there. I'll stay on for another minute or so, unless anyone has any questions. Somebody asked, for the work sample, is it okay to submit a reel or should I submit a finished video piece? You should submit whatever you think best supports your proposal. Reel's nice because it shows sample of all of your work, but you can also submit a finished video piece as well. It's up to you. Either or works fine. I don't see any other questions. I am going to stick on for one more minute, but again, if anyone does have any questions, put my email in the chat. I'm very accessible and very available, so feel free to email me. I'm happy to hop on a phone call, and looking forward to seeing all your amazing work. Doesn't look like we have any others, so I'm going to sign off for the night. Thanks everyone for coming, and looking forward to seeing all your amazing proposals. Just remember, they do have to be in by April 12th. April 12th at 6 p.m. So have a great night, everyone.